And welcome back. I'm pretty excited about this week because there is kind of a decent amount that happened. I did my first interview. I got my first pictures with models this week. And we're going to be kind of diving deep into my editing process. I'm also going to talk about how I even acquired the models. So, hope you guys enjoy. I'm really excited about today's episode, and let's dig into it. I forgot to take this out. How did I book the models? It was really simple. I went on to a Facebook group. It's a local Facebook group for models and a Facebook group for photographers. I laid out a message on that. I'll post it right here. And it just was a model call with a little bit of my portfolio. I tried to be as specific as possible on what I was looking for. Now, a little prep for when you actually get a model. This kind of goes with any couple. I think you really want to figure out what you're doing. For most couples, when you're taking pictures of them, obviously they're the one prompting you. So for a model, you're really prompting the whole thing yourself. Before I even got these models, I already had a vision of what I wanted to do. I had a layout, I picked my color scheme, I picked my theme, I found my locations, and I found the best time to shoot all these because this wasn't in a studio, it was all natural light. And just a quick tip, it also sometimes helps to Google models or just poses, maybe even sketch them out, or you could look at your favorite photographer's posing style and kind of take a little bit from that. Don't directly steal it, take inspiration from it. Alright, so with that, let's talk editing. I've got all my photos. I narrowed them down to the ones I liked, and now we are gonna get into editing. So I am going to share my screen, boom, and you can see my screen. So we're starting out with these images. This model's name is Christy. She was excellent. She was the first person I worked with. And so here, I'm just gonna bring my computer up so I can see a little better. We're gonna make sure brightness is all the way up because I don't want to blow out these photos. And I'm just gonna talk through this. I've never done this before. We are talking through my process. And I'm only gonna do a few photos. Alright, so first, I'm going for softer on this image. Maybe take the contrast down a little as well. Highlights. And this is something that I think a lot of photographers do. You play with it. Shadows. I'm actually gonna bring up the shadows there. It is just a little dark on her hair. And then the whites. Let's see. See, when you bring up the contrast or white, mess with the black too much, it makes it a little more, I don't know, I like my photo to look a little more matte, a little more satin vibe to it. So just bring up the black ever so slightly. The highlight on her face, see, it's pretty sharp on her face, but the highlight on her nose, it's just a little much for me. Again, this is natural light, so I'm gonna come in here and we to just, we can mess with like that part of her face. And we're just gonna bring down the highlight. Let's see, is that, maybe bring down, I don't want too much shadow. That way it's not too crazy. Alright. So that's pretty doable for right now. Like that. And we're just gonna go in here, kind of look at everything as we go. All my images are a little darker, so it's kind of the way I like it. I like that. Alright. I used to mess with the S-curve a lot. I'm gonna try my best not to mess with that on these images, because I really want a natural vibe. Let's see, what's kind of like a green. We'll see. We're gonna see. Now the orange is gonna be kind of tricky here as far as the color mixer goes, just because, like, obviously skin tones land kind of in that orange range, so when you mess with the orange slider, like, yeah, you obviously take out the shirt and the skin. So we're not gonna do too much there. I don't want to desaturate it. I also don't want to make it too dark, but just like a little darker maybe. I don't know. Ah. Now this is where we can like give it some character. Again, like you never go like too extreme unless you're going for an extreme. Like I never do. I'm a very subtle person. I kinda like right there. I never really do anything as far as grading like on the highlights or shadows. I like the midtones to kind of do all the work. There you go. Yeah, that's a much more subtle image right there. I'm really liking that. Okay. And you can mess around with it. You can see like right there, I'm not as comfortable with it. Like I don't wanna, I like my shadows where they're at. Highlights, obviously I want highlights to be like softer. So cool. Yeah, I really like that. The balance is like, again, trying to not overdo it. It is so easy to overdo it. And for texture, I normally like to zoom in on the face and see what the texture does. I don't like, obviously females to males are two different things. When you're working with a beard, you want to crank the texture up. Like, you want to see the hair follicle. You want all of that texture. But when you're working with a female and you want them to have smooth skin, you know, it's a whole nother thing. And it really goes person by person as well. Some people have, like, when it's cold outside, they'll have really beautiful goosebumps. Maybe you want to capture that texture on their skin. Whereas this photo, everything is somewhat soft. So we're just going to take the texture down a little bit. I don't want to mess with the dehaze too much. Again, that just like adds a little contrast to the image. Maybe we can take down the dehaze like a little. No, because that's too soft. Alright, and so with these images, I am going to be adding just a little bit of green. Like a healthy amount of green, right? Again, just clicking back, looking at our image, seeing how healthy our image is looking. And then we're going to add some sharpness. Sharpness is something I always do. I like that detail in there. And that green, again, you can kind of see it coming through. It comes through in the shadows right there. Right here. You can see it. I love that. That looks so good. Perfect. Okay, so really we're not going to overdo anything. There is a photographer that I follow on YouTube. His name is Jared Polin, and he has always been the dude that says, get your crop right in camera. I don't know if he still says it, but I like to follow that. So I liked that crop. I'm keeping that crop. I think that looks really good. Cool. And with this, you know, I can go into a lot of these images. So this image, I actually, is it this one? Or is it this one? Yeah, this one I already edited. And so you can kind of see, like, it's not too different from what I did. Just to give you guys an idea of where I started, that's what it looked like from the start. Very bright. And then I ended up taking a lot of the brightness down. Looking back at it, like, her eyes are really dark right there. Her eyes are really dark in general, though. That was like, it was a weird lighting scenario where there are a lot of shadows, but I'm kind of okay with that. I don't need to see a ton of detail in the eyes. I like her skin texture. Very beautiful skin texture. I did end up having to, you can't really tell unless I click on this, and then, is that it? Yeah. Let's see if it pops up. Yeah, no, you can't. But I brought her arms down and highlights a little bit. Just if I do that, you can kind of see it. Alright, cool. So those are just a few images from that batch. It's a little bit darker of an image. And now we are going to move on. Let's do this image. Let's see. We've got a few. I really like this one. Let's see. Yeah, because the detail is so beautiful on her eyes too. Sorry, I was covering my mouth. I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay. Alright, so first off, that's hard because I don't want to crop into that. Alright, let's see. I just want to see if I can do this in Lightroom real quick. Like, do we think we could just... Oh, that's gonna be hard because the grass. Do we keep that? Do we keep all this stuff in the background? Or do I just go through it and be like super annoying with it and just do like one bit at a time? Here. Does that look too messed with? Can you tell? Can you tell? Maybe a little bit. Alright, that's good for right now. Let's concentrate on her. Okay, so right away, this is pretty bright, but the lights still look pretty good. We're gonna bring everything down though. Not too much. Maybe it's more the highlights. Contrast. Oh yeah. Okay. So bring that down. We're gonna bring down the whites. Blacks a little bit. This one's gonna be very like color heavy. What you do with the color on this image is gonna make it. So every once in a while I'll just go in here and like, oh, what's black and white do? So that's a very white image, but it's really neat, honestly. So with this one, I feel like this is gonna be really kind of intense. We're gonna skip over this one. This is a lesson in editing. Sometimes you skip it. You just skip it. Because sometimes you know, like, oh, this shit's gonna take a while. Straight up, that photo is gonna take a minute because there is a lot I need to explore with it. Alright. Let's move on to this model. So this is Natasha. She is actually a photographer. And she was great. She did a really good job. And obviously, like, the light was really soft that day, and so it produced some really beautifully muted images. These are days where it's like really hard to mess up the exposure on your camera. It's just like perfectly cloudy, and so you're like, okay, well, I can't miss. I really like this one. Let's see, just ever so slightly messing with the contrast. I'm gonna bring down the exposure a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna bring down the highlights some. Again, when you do that, it just like, I don't know if you can tell, the highlight goes from like such a harsh line to melting, like it it really just fades into the skin tones. At least with these shots. Shadows. Kind of like it a little darker right there. Where are we at? Yeah, that's good. But we're gonna bring up the blacks. Bringing up the blacks is gonna help with this part down here. Then the whites. The whites we're gonna bring down as well. There you go. I just real quick, something about this image. I want to straighten it. I feel like that looks a lot better. I wish I would have gotten the stool fully in this image. It's kind of like, it's one of those things where sometimes you capture something. It's like a magic of photography. When you are posing everything perfectly, I feel like sometimes you're still not going to find that perfect image. And so you capture the image for what it is. Okay. Cool. See, and this is where, like, this S-curve right here, you know, the popular thing to do is to bring this guy up, and then you do that, and then you do this, and you do that, and it makes that popular looking style, but we're not going for that. It just, like, it muddies up the image a little too much for what I want to do. And I get it, like, there's a time and place for that style. I don't hate it. I'm just not trying to do that here. I kind of like the temp where it is. I think that's a really good temp. We're gonna give it just a little more color. Just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then we are definitely gonna mess with this. Ooh. Sometimes you green is such an interesting thing to throw into images like this. And I really love that. Just that hint of green. Like, ugh. I like that. I'm glad I did that. That was an accident. That was not on purpose. You mess with these things. You go in and out and you just mess with it. Keep on messing with it. I love that that just happened. And you can, like, yeah, see, that's gonna be a little too much. If I bring in, like, just a little bit. Right there, that's kind of interesting. Let's see. see, again, let's not do too much. I'm really liking this image. It is coming together. Alright. Mess with the highlights a little bit. I really liked, from a highlight perspective, just try to, I don't want to, yeah, we aren't going to go pink. I like that because it gives it a muggy feel. That gives it like a rainy feel. But I think that blue is it. That blue just, it comes through so well. I hope you guys are getting a color masterclass today. Ugh, I'm loving this image right now. Okay. And from a skin standpoint, let's see. I do, like, I want to add texture to her. Someone like this, like, when their skin is really, really smooth, you want to add that little bit of texture. And that's going to add texture to everything, obviously, but it is just going to make everything pop a little more. So now we're gonna bring in that harshness. The beauty about this edit is I'll be able to take this, make it a preset, and then we can move it to every image, right? Let's not mess with acrylic. That's too much. Gonna muddy the image. Green. Add a little bit again. I try not to go above 10 with green. Like 6 and 8. Those are beautiful numbers for green. And then sharpen the image just a tad. Guys, come on. Come on. This is the image right here. Starting point. Ending point. I just gave you guys an inside look at how I edit these. So now I normally just I kind of go through the image. Obviously I'm gonna look for blemishes and stuff, like anything that I see that I'm not a fan of or that I feel like the client may not be a fan of, and I'm gonna remove it, look at the image, kind of see if there's anything I can do. But really, everything about this I love. So I think that's gonna be it. I don't need to show you guys how to heal stuff. You know how to do that. That stuff is easy. I feel like the hard thing is finding that balance. Again, really fine-tuning your editing to where you're at the end of your image, you're like, oh my god, damn, I am so happy with that. So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of that. I had fun with it. Yeah, check out my Instagram. These are gonna be going up there. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.